What would your life be like with no car payment? Many of us have been in car debt for so long that we can't even remember what that feels like. I recently paid off my BMW more than a year early, and the feeling of relief that I felt making that last payment is something that I want to talk about today because I feel like this topic isn't really talked about enough on car YouTube. I believe that we have a car debt crisis in America right now, so let me hit you with a few statistics. The average payment right now on a new car is $726 a month, and the average payment on a used car is around $533 a month. The average interest rates across all credit scores is around 7% for new cars and close to 12% for used cars, and the total of all of our car debt is in excess of $1.6 trillion. Meanwhile, roughly 28% of Americans have less than $1,000 in their savings. And on top of all of that, nearly 4.5% of car payments are currently delinquent by 90 days, putting those cars into repossession territory.
How much is your car payment?
$1,080.
What's your car payment?
$744.
Your car payment, and what do you drive?
$2,000 a month. I drive Chevys, of course.
I noticed a trend recently on TikTok where people announce their car payment like it's some sort of flex or a competition to see who's paying the most each month, while other people make videos with the sound of desperation in their voices, and you hear people call in on these financial talk shows with just ridiculous monthly expenses, and you realize this isn't just a few isolated cases, this is a massive problem.
I'm currently in a horrible auto loan. I owe $18,000, $4,000 underwater with a 26% interest rate.
You got messed over, didn't you?
Watching videos like these lit a fire under me to get my car paid off ASAP. I think as car enthusiasts, we're even more vulnerable to going deeply into debt for our cars because for us, a car is so much more than this appliance that just gets us from here to there. For us, our cars are our hobbies, our source of entertainment, and a gateway to meet other people who are into cars just like us. Something we hear a lot in the car community is life is short, so just buy whatever the hell you want and don't worry about the consequences, but I think that this is a short-sighted take. I think that life is short and you work too hard to give so much of your paycheck right back to the bank in the form of car payments. And when you look at those statistics that we just talked about with people having astronomical payments and little to no savings, ask yourself, are these people really living their best lives because they financed the car that they really wanted?
Student debt lowers life satisfaction. Car debt tanks life satisfaction. Credit card debt is catastrophic for life satisfaction.
I think that a lot of people are scared right now. People have gotten in over their heads, and they're one job loss or one emergency away from losing it all. Now there's a lot of factors at play here. New cars are more expensive than ever, supply chain issues cause scarcity that drove up the price of used cars, and banks are allowing people to borrow irresponsible amounts of money to pay for them. With an average new car price of $48,000 at the time of this video, it seems almost unfathomable to save up and pay cash for a car like our parents did. I think we do have a choice though to buy something reasonable, whether that means saving up for a while or taking a small, low interest loan and paying it off quickly. The question that you should be asking yourself is, what is this costing me? And I don't just mean the payment and the interest. What is this costing your mental health, your sleep, and your ability to save money? I have to tell you, my sleep has improved since becoming debt-free because when you don't have debt, you have options. Maybe for you, that's the option to finally make that career change. Maybe you can finally just take some time off for yourself, or maybe you're a true car enthusiast and you can finally buy those wheels that have been in your shopping cart for years. It's not all bad though, is it? So I want to explain the situation with my 340i. Prior to buying the car, my wife and I already had a 6-month emergency fund saved, which wasn't part of the car transaction. And then after buying the car, we continued our regular savings and retirement investing. So while having a car payment wasn't ideal, in our situation, it also wasn't killing us. We know people in our own friend group who will spend $400 a week on things like fine dining and cocktail bars, and what's the return on investment on that? So for my wife and I as car enthusiasts, we've always rationalized the payment as sort of an entertainment expense. It was a small portion of our income that we could afford to give up each month in order to enjoy these cars, and now that they're both paid off, we have a couple fun, reliable, and relatively low mileage cars as a result. Now, I'm not advocating that you go out and get a car loan, but I do think that there's an amount of money that people can borrow that's not financially ruinous. I think it's not always the car payment, but rather the extremes that we take it to, like some of these people on TikTok who have car payments that look like mortgages with interest rates that look like credit card interest. And just in case anyone's curious, the payment on the 340 was $414 a month at 4.64% interest. So once I paid off my car, I posted it on my Instagram story, and out of thousands of people who saw the post and numerous congratulations, the only person who had something negative to say was a friend of mine who works in, take a guess, finance. So he said sarcastically, "Good job paying off a depreciating asset." And I think this is such a bad take. So the car is depreciating whether you pay it off or not. And if anything, depreciation is even more reason to pay the car off early. A lot of people are finding themselves in situations right now where they're underwater on their car loan. In other words, they owe more money on the car than it's worth. Now this can happen for a few reasons. Buying brand new cars which have a steeper depreciation curve, overpaying for the car to begin with, or just taking a super long loan term where the car is depreciating at a faster rate than you're paying it off. Now this can become a huge headache if you need to get out of your car quickly. So let's say you lose your job and you don't have enough money saved to make the payments, or maybe the car's starting to have some major mechanical problems and you just want to get rid of it. You're going to have to come up with that difference between what you owe and what it's worth. Now if your car is paid off and you want to get rid of it for any reason, you simply sell the car. Because we know the cars tend to go down in value, it's important to be mindful of how much of your net worth is tied up in cars. And there's a consensus in the personal finance community that the total value of all of your cars shouldn't exceed more than half of your annual income. That way, as the cars go down in value, it's not just taking your entire net worth down with it. So you already have a car payment, what should you do? So if you're like one of the 100 million Americans with a car payment right now, I would encourage you to pay it off as quickly as possible, and I'm going to give you a few tips. Make extra payments towards the principal balance. This will save you on the total amount of interest that you'll pay on the loan and will allow you to pay the car off more quickly. You just have to make sure that the extra money that you're putting with it is actually going towards the principal and not just like an advance towards the next payment. The bank that my BMW loan was through had it going towards the next payment by default, so each month you would have to know to manually go in and change it to principal, and the reason is because the bank doesn't want you to do it this way because it works in your favor instead of theirs. Get creative. So I decided to pay off my car early by just writing a check for the last $7,000 that I owed on it, and as I was coming up with the money for that, I looked around my house and ended up selling a bunch of stuff on eBay, everything from shoes to video games and camera equipment that I wasn't using, and I ended up finding like $1,700 worth of stuff that was just like sitting in my closet. Nowadays, it's easier than ever to monetize your hobbies, whether that's YouTube, TikTok, and I finally just got remonetized on Instagram. I have a video that I'll link down below that shows how you can get started with affiliate marketing with Amazon, and one commenter on that video said that they were making $150 a month thanks to the advice that I gave in that video, so you might want to check that out. So that's an extra $150 a month that you can put towards your principal balance. The main thing though is you have to decide to get aggressive and intentional with paying it off early. Just rounding up the change on your payment each month isn't going to cut it. You have to get serious, make some sacrifices, and throw any extra money that you can at that principal balance. In my case, I did have cash savings to cover the rest, but I was kind of conflicted because I was earning 5% interest on this high interest cash account, which was more than the interest that I was paying on the loan. But ultimately, the peace of mind that comes with being debt free was worth a lot more than that small spread that I was making on the interest. Now just note that some banks will charge a penalty for an early payoff. Now that's not something that I've ever encountered with any loan that I've had, but just double check with your bank to confirm that. Also, just be aware that your credit score will drop when you pay off your car and the account closes. Now your credit score is going to go down whether you pay it off early or whether you drag out the loan to its maturity, so you shouldn't let that get in the way of paying it off early. Now personally, I think that I'm done financing cars, but I do want to leave you guys with a few tips. Now, I'm not a financial advisor or a car salesman, this is just what I would do. 1. Save a 6-month emergency fund that's not included in the car transaction. Emergencies and job losses happen, so be ready for it. 2. Buy used and let the first owner take the big depreciation hit. So I saved $20,000 on my 340i by buying it used compared to the original sticker price. 3. Choose a car that costs less than half your annual income. Cars go down in value, don't let it destroy your net worth. 4. Consider the total cost of ownership including insurance, gas, and routine maintenance, all of which add up quickly. And 5. Pay off the loan early. Just because you have a 5-year loan doesn't mean that you need to take 5 years to pay it off. Even for us car enthusiasts, there's still so many cool cars that you can save up for if you know what you're looking for. My friend who bought my E90 from me is still daily driving it 4 years later, and he actually just sent me some pictures of him tearing up the tail of the Dragon, which I thought was pretty cool. And by the way, I'm not even saying that you shouldn't buy an expensive car, I'm just saying you should be careful using debt to do it. I want to wrap up this video with a story in humility. So when I bought my E90 back in the day, the car payment plus all of the expenses that come with owning a BMW were a stretch for me financially, and on top of that I had no savings at all. So at the time I was working for this online vitamin company doing graphic design and marketing, and towards the end I was even helping them get their YouTube channel started, which unfortunately they didn't see a whole lot of value in at the time, and the company fell in hard times and I got let go. A few weeks later, one of the managers called me and said, hey, we don't really have anything for you in the office right now, but if you want to come back and work in our warehouse for $10 an hour until you find something, we would be happy to have you back. So with my back against the wall, having a car payment and no savings, I ended up taking that job, and I'll never forget my first day as a warehouse worker, pulling up to work in my fancy pants BMW that I could barely afford, and the way that the building was set up, you had to come in the front to punch in, and then I had to walk through the office past all of my old colleagues who are wearing nice clothes and it's air conditioned and all that, and here I am in gym shorts and a t-shirt ready for my first lesson in box packing. The point is, that whole situation could have been avoided if I had some savings and actually had a plan. Now when we bought the 340, our financial situation was completely different, but still, it was still a risk that I don't think I want to take again. It just feels so good to not have car payments anymore. Thanks for watching, give me a thumbs up if this was inspirational, and for anyone who's paid off their car early, leave a comment down below, let us know how you did it, and let us know how it feels to be debt free. Okay, I can't do this. Alright, ready?